I never expected moving day to be the day everything changed between my sister and me. The cardboard boxes were stacked like mismatched building blocks throughout our family home in suburban Connecticut, each one labeled with bold black marker, denoting their destinations in our new house across town. "Emma, I need to talk to you," Cassie said, her slender frame blocking the doorway to what had been my bedroom for the past 17 years. At 22, my older sister had moved back home after college graduation, taking up temporary residence in our parents' basement, while she applied for jobs in Boston and New York. The plan was for all of us to move together to the larger house my parents had purchased, giving everyone more space until Cassie eventually moved out on her own. "Can it wait? I need to grab the last of my stuff," I replied, trying to sidestep her. The movers were coming in less than an hour, and I still had a few precious items to pack. My journal, some photographs, and the document that had arrived yesterday. The document that would change everything. Cassie didn't budge. "No, it can't." "Wait." Her eyes, the same hazel as mine, were narrowed with determination. "I'm taking your room in the new house." I laughed, thinking she was joking. "Very funny. Mom and Dad already assigned the rooms, remember? You're getting the guest suite, downstairs with your own bathroom. That was before I found out the ceiling leaks down there." She crossed her arms. "I talked to Mom this morning. Since I'm only staying for a few months until I get a job in the city, she agreed it makes more sense for me to take the smaller bedroom upstairs, your bedroom, rather than them fixing the leak for such a short stay." The casual way she delivered this news made my blood boil. "You went behind my back? That room has the built-in bookshelves I've been wanting forever." I'd already planned where each of my dog-eared paperbacks would go, had mentally arranged. My desk beneath the window that overlooked the backyard maple trees. "You'll have to take the basement. Mom said we can move some of your furniture down there today." She shrugged as if it was already decided. "It's just temporary, Emma. Don't be so dramatic." "Dramatic?" My voice cracked. This was the story of our relationship. Cassie making executive decisions and expecting me to fall in line. Throughout childhood, she'd claimed the front seat, the last cookie, the remote control. In high school, she'd borrowed my clothes without asking and returned them with mysterious stains. Now, she was taking my room, the one thing I'd been looking forward to in this whole moving process. "I need to get my stuff," I repeated, pushing past her into my bedroom. The walls were bare now, nail holes marking where posters and photos had hung. My dresser stood empty, drawers pulled out like protruding tongues. All that remained was a small stack of books, my favorite blue throw blanket, and the envelope I'd hidden beneath my mattress yesterday. Cassie followed me in. "What's the rush? The movers aren't here yet." I grabbed the blanket and stuffed it into my backpack, then reached for the books. Some of us actually respect other people's space and want to be ready on time. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you've always taken whatever you wanted without considering how it affects anyone else." The words burst out of me, years of resentment bubbling to the surface. "You think the world revolves around you, Cassie? It always has." She rolled her eyes. "Here we go again. Poor little Emma. Always the victim." I reached under the mattress, fingers curling around the envelope. For weeks I'd been waiting for the right moment to share this news. I'd imagined a family dinner, perhaps, or a quiet moment with my parents. Never had I pictured revealing it like this. In anger, as a weapon. "You know what? Take the room. I won't be here much longer anyway." I pulled out the envelope and held it up, the Columbia University letterhead clearly visible. Cassie's expression shifted from annoyance to confusion. "What's that?" "My early acceptance letter. Full scholarship to the creative writing program." My voice shook slightly, pride mingling with the anger still coursing through me. "I wasn't going to tell anyone until after the move, but since you're so eager to claim my space, you might as well know I'll be gone in August." The color drained from her face. "Columbia? But that's in New York." "Exactly. Where you've been trying to get a job for months," I couldn't keep the satisfaction from my voice. Funny how things work out, isn't it? For once, my sister was speechless. We both knew what this meant. While she had graduated with a business degree from State and was struggling to find entry-level positions, I had secured a spot at an Ivy League school. The dream she'd failed to achieve 4 years ago when her applications had been rejected. "Mom and Dad don't know yet?" she finally asked, her voice small. I shook my head. I wanted to wait until we were settled in the new house. Make it a celebration. I tucked the letter back into my backpack. Guess that plan's ruined now. Emma, She stopped, seeming to struggle with what to say next. Outside, a truck engine rumbled in the driveway. The movers had arrived. "Save it," I said, zipping my backpack closed. "You can have the room. I'll be gone soon enough anyway." As I brushed past her, Cassie caught my arm. "Wait." Her eyes were shining with unshed tears. "I didn't know." "You never bothered to ask," I replied, pulling away from her grasp. "That's the problem, Cassie. You never ask. You just take." I headed downstairs to greet the movers, leaving my sister standing alone in my empty bedroom. The acceptance letter felt like it was burning a hole in my backpack. A ticket to freedom, yes, but also the match I'd just used to ignite a fire I wasn't sure how to extinguish. The first week in our new house felt like living in a maze of cardboard and bubble wrap. Mom had taken to labeling rooms with Post-it notes, kitchen items here, living room furniture there, in an attempt to create order from chaos. Dad spent most evenings assembling furniture, his engineering mind delighting in the puzzle of Allen wrenches and incomprehensible instructions. Cassie and I had barely spoken since our confrontation. She'd taken the upstairs bedroom as planned, while I reluctantly settled into the basement space. It wasn't terrible. The ceiling leak had been exaggerated, requiring only a minor repair. But it wasn't what I'd envisioned. The concrete walls made the room feel like a bunker, and despite the small windows near the ceiling, natural light was a scarce commodity. I told my parents about Columbia the night after we moved in. They'd been ecstatic, of course, Dad immediately, calculating the commute time from Connecticut to New York, Mom already planning shopping trips for dorm essentials. Only Cassie had remained subdued, offering a quiet congratulations before excusing herself from the dinner table. 3 days later, I was arranging books on the metal shelving unit Dad had installed when I heard footsteps on the basement stairs. "Need any help?" Cassie stood awkwardly at the bottom step, holding a small cardboard box. I shrugged. "I'm almost done." She lingered, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "I brought you something." She set the box on my desk and took a step back. "It's not much, but I thought it might help make this place feel more yours." Curiosity got the better of me. I opened the box to find a string of fairy lights, a small potted succulent, and a framed photograph of the two of us from years ago, arms around each other at the beach, gap-toothed smiles aimed at the camera. "I thought the lights might help, with the whole cave vibe down here," she explained nervously. "And the plant doesn't need much sun, so—" "Thanks," I said, surprised by the gesture. I picked up the photograph, remembering the day it was taken. Cape Cod, summer vacation, before high school and college applications, and the competitive edge that had gradually sharpened between us. "Emma, I need to tell you something." Cassie perched on the edge of my bed, hands clasped tightly in her lap. "The reason I've been so desperate to get to New York—" She paused, taking a deep breath. "I got a job offer last week. Editorial assistant at Pendleton Publishing." My head snapped up. Pendleton was one of the most prestigious literary publishers in the country. "That's incredible. Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was ashamed." Her voice cracked slightly. "It's barely above minimum wage. I'd need roommates, probably 3 of them, in some tiny apartment in a questionable neighborhood. After 4 years of college and thousands in student loans, this is what my degree got me. Meanwhile, you're heading to Columbia on a full ride. Understanding dawned slowly. You were jealous. Am jealous, she corrected with a sad smile. But also proud. So proud, Emma. You've always been the better writer. The more creative one. I guess I wanted to prove I could make it first. I set down the photograph, processing her words. All these years, I'd thought Cassie saw me as competition, as an annoyance, the little sister always tagging along. It had never occurred to me that she might see me as someone to measure herself against. So you're moving to New York too? I asked. She nodded. If I can figure out the logistics. The apartment situation is the biggest hurdle. On my salary, it's going to be tough. A crazy idea began forming in my mind. Columbia freshmen have to live in dorms, I said slowly. But what if next year we got a place together? Cassie's eyes widened. You'd want to live with me? After everything? You're still my sister, I replied. It might be interesting to track the transformation. I ran my fingers over the smooth leather, touched beyond words. Thank you. This means everything. There's something else I need to tell you, Cassie said, suddenly serious. The job at Pendleton, it's not just any editorial assistant position. I'm working for Marissa Evans, I gasped. Marissa Evans was one of the most respected editors in literary fiction, known for discovering powerful new voices. How did you not lead with this information? Cassie laughed. Because I wanted to earn it first. Make sure I didn't get fired in the first week. And? She likes me, Cassie said, unable to hide her pride. She's giving me manuscripts to read, asking for my opinions. Yesterday she invited me to a launch party for one of her authors next month. She paused. She said I could bring a guest, someone who appreciates good writing. I stared at her, understanding the invitation. Are you serious? Dead serious. So don't make any plans for September 15th. The enormity of what was happening washed over me. Here we were, the Parker sisters, sitting on a rooftop in New York City at the beginning of what felt like the rest of our lives. Cassie with her foot in the door of the publishing world, me about to start classes at one of the best writing programs in the country. And somehow, against all odds, we'd found our way back to each other. Remember how this all started? I asked. With you barring me from my bedroom on moving day? She winced. Not my finest moment. If you hadn't done that, I might never have shown you the Columbia letter. We might still be stuck in our old patterns. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best outcomes, she reflected. I'm sorry it took me so long to see you clearly. Emma. We're here now, I said simply. That's what matters. As darkness fell completely, the city lights created a glittering landscape below us. Somewhere in those millions of windows were stories unfolding, lives being lived, changed, challenged, celebrated, and now our story was among them. Ready for this? Cassie asked, gesturing to the expanse of the city. I nodded, feeling a certainty I'd never experienced before. Ready. We stayed on that rooftop for hours, talking about everything and nothing. Childhood, memories re-examined through new perspectives, dreams for the future, fears about the unknown. For the first time, there was no competition between us, no measuring or comparing. Just two sisters, finding their way together. When we finally descended to street level, Cassie walked me back to campus. At the entrance to my dorm, she gave me a fierce hug. Call me tomorrow after your first class, she said. I want to hear everything. I will. I hesitated, then added, Thank you for being my sister. She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. Always have been. Always will be. As I watched her disappear into the New York night, I clutched my new journal to my chest. The story of Cassie and Emma Parker was just beginning, and for once, I couldn't wait to see how it unfolded. Not as a competition, but as a collaboration. Two parallel narratives, intertwining in this magnificent, terrifying, exhilarating city of dreams. The document that had once been a weapon, my Columbia acceptance letter, had transformed into a bridge, and the sister I'd once seen as my rival had become my ally. Sometimes I realized the most important stories we tell are the ones we revise along the way. Besides, it would be nice to have someone familiar in a new city. I hesitated, then added, and I might need help navigating the subway. A tentative smile spread across her face. I could definitely help with that. I've been studying the MTA map for weeks. Of course you have, I laughed. It was such a Cassie thing to do. Preparing meticulously, researching every detail. About the room upstairs, she began. Keep it, I interrupted. You're right. You'll only be here a few months, before New York. It makes sense. Relief washed over her features. I can help you make this space better. We could paint the walls this weekend, maybe add some better lighting besides these fairy lights. The olive branch was being extended from both sides now. I nodded, feeling the weight of our argument starting to lift. I'd like that. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the first without tension in longer than I could remember. Why didn't you tell me you were applying to Columbia? She finally asked. I could have helped with your application. I picked at a loose thread on my bedspread. I guess I was afraid of how you'd react if I got in, or if I didn't. Competition has always been our thing, hasn't it? Cassie said thoughtfully. Who got better grades? Who got more attention from Mom and Dad who achieved what first? I never wanted to compete with you, I admitted. I just wanted you to see me. I've always seen you, Emma. Her voice was soft, sometimes too clearly. You're everything I wished I could be. Talented, confident, fearless. I laughed in disbelief. Me? Fearless? I'm terrified about Columbia. About New York. I've been having nightmares about getting lost on the subway and ending up in New Jersey, she grinned. That's a legitimate fear. And you're the confident one, I continued. You always know exactly what you want and how to get it. I project confidence, she corrected. Inside, I'm usually a mess. Especially lately. She glanced around the basement room, guilt flickering across her features. I'm sorry about taking your room. It was a crappy thing to do. It was, I agreed, but I understand why now. Cassie stood up and walked to the small window. Do you remember when we used to share a room? Before we moved to this house? I nodded. We'd shared a bedroom until I was 8, and Cassie was 13. The year she'd declared she needed privacy and converted the playroom into her personal space. I used to read your stories while you were at soccer practice, she confessed. The ones you wrote in those composition notebooks. They were good, Emma. Really good. I knew even then you had a gift. The revelation stunned me. You never said anything, because I was jealous even then. She turned back to face me. You could create entire worlds with words, while I struggled to write a 5-paragraph essay. I thought about all the years of misunderstanding between us, how we'd interpreted each other's actions through lenses clouded by insecurity and competition. We've wasted a lot of time, haven't we? I said. Cassie nodded. But maybe we can make up for it in New York. Sisters taking on the big city, I smiled. Sounds like the plot of a cheesy sitcom. Or the next great American novel, she suggested. Written by Emma Parker, Columbia graduate. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I felt like my sister, and I were truly seeing each other. Not as rivals, not as obstacles, but as allies. The basement room suddenly didn't seem so dark. The summer passed in a blur of preparation. Cassie started her job at Pendleton in mid-July, temporarily staying with our mom's college friend in Queens while she apartment hunted. I spent my days shopping for dorm essentials, saying goodbye to high school friends, and revising short stories for my first workshop at Columbia. The basement room had transformed over the weeks. Cassie had helped me paint the walls a soft sage, green before she left, and Dad installed proper lighting to replace the harsh fluorescent bulbs. It had become a space I actually enjoyed spending time in, a transitional cocoon before my New York metamorphosis. On my last night at home before move-in day at Columbia, I sat cross-legged on my bed, surrounded by final packing decisions. My phone buzzed with a text from Cassie. "Check your email, now." Curious, I opened my laptop and found a new message from her, the subject line reading simply, "For my sister." The email contained an address in Washington Heights and a set of keys waiting for me at a property management office. "First month's rent paid," she wrote. "Security deposit covered. 2-bedroom, 5th floor walk-up. Sorry, but amazing roof access and only 20 minutes to Columbia. Roommate interview tomorrow at 3 p.m. Don't be late." I called her immediately. "What is this?" I demanded when she answered. "Your housing solution for sophomore year," she replied, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "I found it yesterday. It's nothing fancy, but it's in our budget if we split the rent. The current tenant is looking for someone to take over the lease starting next June. Perfect timing for when you finish your freshman year. But how did you afford the deposit?" The guilt was immediate. Cassie was making barely enough to cover her own expenses in the shared apartment she'd found in Astoria. "Remember that hideous pearl necklace Grandma left me? Turns out vintage jewelry from the 1920s has some value. Who knew?" I felt tears prickling behind my eyes. "You sold your inheritance for an apartment deposit?" "For us," she corrected. "Besides, those pearls were never my style. You were supposed to get them anyway. Grandma just mixed up our names in the will." This was news to me. "She did?" "Yeah. She always said you reminded her of herself, the writer, in the family. Those pearls belonged to her when she was working at the newspaper in the 20s. They should have been yours." I thought about our grandmother, who had published short stories in magazines during a time when female writers often used male pseudonyms. She'd encouraged my early attempts at storytelling, giving me my first typewriter when I was 10. "Thank you," I whispered into the phone. "Not just for the apartment, but for everything." "Don't get sappy on me now, Parker," Cassie teased. "Save it for tomorrow. I'm picking you up from campus after you get settled in the dorm. There's somewhere I want to take you." The following day was a whirlwind of emotion. Mom cried when we arrived at the freshman dormitory. Dad took an excessive number of photos, and I tried to appear cool and collected while internally panicking about living with a stranger. My roommate Zoe seemed nice enough, a biology major from Seattle with an impressive collection of plants already overtaking her side of the room. After my parents finally left, Dad had to practically drag Mom away. Cassie texted that she was waiting outside. I found her leaning against a light post, looking every bit the New York publishing professional in dark jeans, a crisp white shirt, and a blazer. "Ready for your first official New York adventure?" she asked, giving me a quick hug. "Where are we going?" I asked as she led me toward the subway. "You'll see." 20 minutes later, we emerged in Washington Heights. Cassie navigated the streets with confidence, turning down side streets until we stopped in front of a pre-war building with a faded red awning. "Here it is," she announced. "Our future home." The building was older than I'd expected. The fire escaped zigzagging up the facade like an architectural afterthought, but it had character. Bay windows, detailed stonework around the entrance. Solid construction from an era when buildings were made to last. A woman was waiting for us in the lobby, Angela, the current tenant. She was in her late 20s with bright blue hair and multiple earrings. "You must be Emma," she said, shaking my hand. "Cassie's told me all about you." "All good things, I hope," I replied, shooting a questioning glance at my sister. The best, Angela assured me. Not every day I meet a Columbia writing scholar. Come on, I'll show you the place. As promised, the 5-flight climb was brutal, but the apartment itself was worth the effort. Though small, it featured high ceilings, original hardwood floors, and windows that actually opened. The kitchen was tiny but functional, and the 2 bedrooms, while compact, could each fit a bed and desk comfortably. And here's the pièce de résistance, Angela said, leading us up a narrow staircase to a door that opened onto the roof. The view took my breath away. The Manhattan skyline spread before us, a concrete and glass panorama backdropped by the pink-orange glow of sunset. The George Washington Bridge sparkled to the west, and directly south, I could make out the spire of the Empire State Building. Not bad, right? Cassie bumped my shoulder with hers. It's perfect, I breathed. After Angela left us to discuss, Cassie and I sat on the rooftop edge, legs dangling as the city transitioned from day to night below us. I can't believe this could be ours, I said, still processing the reality of it. Believe it. Cassie handed me an envelope from her bag. This is for you. Inside was a leather-bound journal, the cover embossed with my initials. Open it, she urged. The first page contained a handwritten note. Emma, for the stories you'll write in this city. For the life you'll build here. For the sister I'm proud to know and grateful to have beside me again. Love always, Cassie. Beneath her signature was a quote from Joan Didion. We tell ourselves stories in order to live. I thought you could use this to document your first year, she explained. New York has a way of changing people.